Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
Just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people.
Subscribe right now.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
I wanted to wait until we got on for you to explain to everyone what happened. So you flooded your floor.
Kind of. Yeah, it wasn't like. So this morning, I had just like the classic Monday morning today. So
Massive shit.
Let's just stay on task right now.
Whoa. First of all, was the reasoning for the flooding due to a bathroom?
No. I woke up at 7 and I went downstairs, made breakfast. Oh, first I did a hypnosis session, then I did breakfast, then I made breakfast. And I ice 3 times a day. And so what I do is I submerge my entire bottom part of my right leg 3 times for 20 minutes each. Because since I had the injury, my calf and other muscles that go around the tibia and the fibia, I think those are the bones.
Very good, yes.
Great. Those muscles have been very tight, and so that's what has continued to kind of aggravate my ankle and aggravate my foot recently because they're all connected. And so that's why I have to fully submerge the lower half of my leg. That being said, I have to use a waste basket for that, basically like a plastic waste bin. And, when it's full of water, 11 gallons of water is pretty heavy, and I went to pick it up today and I kind of hooked it underneath where the edges of the waste bin are. And they were already cracked a little bit, but it wasn't anything too crazy. I'm lifting it, I'm carrying it over to the sink because I have to pour some water out to put new ice in so that way it doesn't overflow.
Mm-hmm.
In the process, the waste bin completely breaks from where I'm holding it. It tips over as I'm holding it. And basically 10 gallons of water just floods my kitchen. And I was just you've got to be kidding me. Because I was kind of running late already. And I was just oh my God. So I ended up using, and the thing is, it spread into the sunroom where I am right now, and then into the dining room, which is another room over. And so, I probably used, I had to do 2 loads of towels.
Do you not have a wet vac?
I have no idea what that is. Definitely not. And I was definitely not going to call my dad and ask him, because then that would have just opened up a whole other can of worms. So I used Jesus, the amount of towels I must have used, it was unbelievable. But I must say, that's probably the cleanest that floor has looked in ages. So
there you go.
But yeah, that was my that's how I flooded my my kitchen this morning. So water just everywhere, and I had to be really careful around all the electrical sockets and everything, so I wouldn't get electrocuted, because things were plugged in and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah. By the way, KB's thing really pissed me off.
You want to laugh? He actually texted it to me first. He goes at Ben, and I said, "So you should send it. He'll get uber butthurt by it."
Watch this. I'm gonna send him something. He's not gonna respond.
He's also busy. I think driving right now.
That's fine. He can see it later.
So, in honor of what is happening this week, I have a bit of breaking news for us. And the beauty of what I'm about to show you, and I need your full attention here, is so monumental and so important that I'm just really, really, really excited to show you it. And I'm going to show you it right after the break. It has been 9 months since Major Golf has taken over the world of the PGA Tour, and we are here in one of the best weeks of the year, Masters Week, the 88th running. We've changed the outlook of the entire board here. It took us hours to design this and come up with it. The logo is just absolutely stunning. Second year using it. So excited for Masters Week. The last time we saw someone win a major championship, Brian Harman absolutely ran the table on Royal Liverpool. And here we are now, April 8th, as we record. Masters dinner tomorrow. The drive chip putt was today. We had the women's amateur over the weekend, which was fantastic. I watched every bit of it. Practice rounds going on, interview rooms going on over the next 2 days. And of course, on Thursday, you will start a 4-day journey to determine who will be the next green jacket holder. Welcome in again, the hole here with Stephen McAvoy and Ben Pirro. Again, the beauty of Augusta National, it goes a lot deeper than just the idea that, like a major is going to happen. There's something traditional about it. There's something that's just like, it gets you going. I saw a tweet by my big cat over at Barstool. He was like, Augusta National has convinced the world that the Masters logo is the greatest thing on earth, and they will charge you anything they can to make all of the money possible to just get you to just gorge Masters shit. It really is just like, I spent the whole day today watching live from the Masters, just watching Scotty Scheffler on the range and just hearing was Rex Hogard and Ryan Lavner just talk about what to expect from the week. And we're here to bring it all to you right here on Getting the Hole. An entire show dedicated to the Masters and, of course, what has happened over the past week to get us there. But first, I want to shout out our awesome brand partners here, starting off with our friends over at Acorn Hills, bringing you stylish apparel for on and off of the golf course, all by using biodegradable packaging and plantable clothing tags. Acorn Hills is changing clothing through conservation each and every day. Use code GITH15 for 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com. And look your best from the ground up. Again, those clothing tags very well could have some nice Georgia azaleas, maybe some Chinese fir, bunch of other flowers that are all across Augusta National. If you go through 1 through 18, all aptly named by a different flower or grass or tree, whatever it might be. And of course, also our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the industry. For those of you going to Augusta National, absolutely get yourself a good pair of sunglasses. The eclipse happened today. You might want some as well for the course, as conditions are going to be beautiful and sunny. Founded on Long Island, rep by some of the biggest personalities in sports, including Chris Hogan, Kyle Harrison, and Paige Sporanic. Tomahawk Shades is guaranteed to keep you looking fresh from the first hole to the 18th green and beyond. Head to TomahawkShades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store, Google Play Store, and browse a selection of sunglasses, blue light plus glasses, and prescription lenses. And be sure to use code USP for 25% off your next order. Again, code USP for 25% off your next order at TomahawkShades.com. Ben, before we get into the news of the week that's led us the road here to Augusta National, what does the Masters mean to you as a pro, as an aspiring pro who wants to one day get to Augusta and play professionally there, as a fan of the game, as just a golf lover in general?
Okay, when are you going to tell me this breaking news? Didn't you tell me you had breaking news?
The breaking news is the fucking overlay.
Do better. Anyway.
I was so excited for this, and you ruined it. Fuck.
Like, do better. Like, really? Really? You had me thinking like something insane happened. Anyway. What does the Masters mean to me? The Masters it's the greatest golf tournament in the world. It is. And I think it's a top 5 sporting event, because you don't even have to be a fan of golf to understand and appreciate the history and the tradition and just the magnitude of this event. This event brings people from all over the world to watch the best players compete on essentially an invitation. That's really what it is. Obviously, yes, you can qualify via OWGR and being a past major champion, a certain amount of years, or if you're just a past champion of the Masters, etc. But it's the greatest. As far as golf goes, it's the greatest show on grass. I truly believe that. I think that's the Waste Management's saying, and I just kind of roll my eyes at it. It's not. It might be the greatest shit show on grass. The Masters, though, is the greatest show on grass. And
I think the Waste Management is the greenest show on grass, but close enough.
Same thing.
All the same shit.
But I had the look. I had it. It's honestly, I've been once. I went on a Monday in 2015 when Tiger was coming back from like a back surgery, and it's the most spectacular tournament I've ever been to. I mean, everything. Not a blade was out of place. The technology that goes into keeping that place pristine is insane. I mean, they have essentially a ground staff for every hole. Each hole essentially has a superintendent, which is just absolutely insane. Some of the tee boxes, they actually have, I guess it's like electrical equipment underneath the surface, like on number, I believe it's 13, that par 5. They have the ability to heat up and cool down the ground depending on the temperature, because traditionally a tee box in that area is not able to grow grass. And just, it's such a significant event to the game, and it's the only major where you play the same course every single year. I mean, to me as a golfer, I would love nothing more than to, as far as my golf career goes, to win the Masters. I mean, that would be a dream come true, because every single Masters is special for some reason. I mean, every single Masters, there's some type of drama, whether it's good or bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember when Danny Willett won, people were like, oh, that was the most boring Masters ever. Well, it was actually pretty entertaining because Jordan Spieth absolutely imploded. Or like in 2011 when, Tiger at one point was tied for the lead. I remember on 15, he had like 4 feet down the hill, left to right for eagle to take sole possession of the lead. In 2011, he missed the putt. And Charles Schwartzel, I think he birdied his last 4 holes to win. He just ran the table on those guys. Or if it's, Scheffler, who just lapped the field last year. Tiger went, I mean, how could you forget Tiger in 2019 when that was the first time I ever cried watching a golf tournament. That was actually the first time I ever cried. I was in my dorm room and I couldn't stop crying. Like, just a monumental, historic event every single year. History's made. And you get to put that green jacket on. You are one of the greatest to ever play the game. You cannot convince me otherwise. That course, last thing I'll say, because I'm going on a tangent right now, that course is, albeit the fairways are wide, you have to be a very good iron player and wedge player, and you have to be an amazing putter. An amazing putter. And you look at guys, and ever since, people are like, well, do you really have to be? Because Adam Scott won it and Sergio won it. Well, that was when I believe you could anchor the long putter. I believe Adam Scott was able to anchor it. And yep. I mean, I remember that one. I mean, he made that long putt on 18 for the win, to essentially force a playoff, because Angel had a short birdie putt. And then he made that other putt on 10, that birdie putt, to win in the dark. I'm essentially in the dark, and the camera, it pans to him like with his arms stretched out, and I can confidently say I've cried 2 times watching golf tournaments, and both times are with the Masters. Once for Tiger, and then last year with Rahm. So I'm really, really looking forwad to it.
And like, there's something that goes to show with the fact that it is the only major that's played every year on the same course. And I think we talked about this last year, a couple of years ago. Like, you could say that the Masters isn't the best major, maybe because of like where the U.S. Open is always the hardest conditions and it's typically the hardest one to win. The Masters is incredibly challenging to win, but it takes a lot of experience to get there. And I feel like that's kind of the thing about it. The fact that you constantly go back to this one place, and every other major is great like in its own way. You travel around the country, you get to do all different things, but the Masters has been rooted as the tournament you want to win. It isn't the oldest one by no means. We've played 151 iterations of the Open. We played 120 something of the U.S. Open. We're only at 88 here at Augusta, but at what all 88 have been absolutely stunning. And like you said, the moments make it what it is. You even miss like Bubba's miracle shot in 2014. Like those things can only happen at Augusta National, and it makes it just so crazy. So yeah, the fact that we're here now and we get to actually say major golf is back on the PGA Tour, and again, the last month has been incredible. We've had some of the best courses and some of the hardest fought events so far in the year. This is finally we're over the hump. We're now at the place where it plateaus, and it's just tremendous golf for the next 4 months. And if you're a golf fan or not, this is the time to get into it. If you're not, and if you are a golf fan, you're in for a big time treat. And with that, let's get into the news that's gotten us to Augusta National. The last man in, the final guy in. When I tell you that I was so fucking excited to talk about this kid on this show, we said it 3 years ago. I watched him play in he did a commercial when he had just for first term pro. He signed with Callaway, and he was just this lanky kid who hit the ball a fucking country mile and was a lefty. And I was like, this kid's going to be like something big one day. And here he is, second career win, punches the ticket in the 11th hour to get to Augusta National, was first in every single metric, tee to green this week. Akshay Bhatia punches his ticket to Augusta National, edging out Denny McCarthy in a playoff. Both will actually make their debut at Augusta this week. But what a ridiculous week. Ran the table wire to wire. Denny McCarthy comes back, birdies 8 of his last 9 holes to force the playoff, and then dunks it in the water from a 99-yard approach shot. Like, talk about a storyline going into Augusta National.
Yeah, it is. I remember when he came out, because he didn't go to college, he turned pro right out of high school. I remember a teammate of mine, he had essentially said he was very skeptical of Akshay being able to play at the highest level that quickly. And he immediately made the comparison to someone by the name of Ty Tryon, who, I don't know how this is. I mean, this happened like probably 4 or 5 years after you and I were born.
Mm-hmm.
Ty ended up having some success in PGA Tour events, and he ended up going to Q school after graduating from high school, and he got through, I believe, on the number at PGA Tour Q school, got his tour card, and played 1 year, didn't play well. And he was just basically like this flash in the pan kid. And, you know, I competed against him very briefly. And he and Akshay I never understood the comparison that my former teammate was making, because he and Akshay are 2 completely different players. Mm-hmm. And I know that because I watched Ty Tryon play. I specifically went to a Korn Ferry event in Savannah, actually the one that they just played this past week. Years ago, he Monday qualified into it. And I drove 4 hours to go watch the guy play because I was intrigued. I wanted to see. Those 2 players couldn't be anything further from they don't have any similarities. None. Mm-hmm. And this kid has proven so many people wrong. It is absolutely incredible. He's this tall, lanky kid, and he hits the ball a country mile. Has a beautiful swing, by the way. Really,
Yeah.
actually, I think he has one of the more underappreciated swings in the PGA Tour. And you know what? It drove me nuts this week because I had kind of been picking him, not to win events, but to play well earlier in the year. I'm not saying I'm not saying that he wasn't playing well, but he wasn't doing anything for me on beer money. So I just like kind of stopped picking him for stuff, and I'm like, of course, now he wins. And you and I have been just banging the table for this kid because you and I both know how good he is and how talented he is. We knew it was a matter of time. I mean, hey, timing is everything. And now the kid just won, and he's about to go play in his first Masters. So good for him. He's now 34th in the world. He's now 12th in the FedEx Cup. Actually, does he have another win?
Yeah, he got his PGA Tour card last year. He beat Patrick Rogers in a playoff at the Barracuda. See, the significance of second level events are fucking important to the PGA Tour, because that's why you see Akshay Bhatia in the Masters.
No, you're 100%. You're 100% right. And I just wanted to pull up his stats real quick, just to go over some basic things. This year on the PGA Tour, strokes gained total, he's 4th. Strokes gained off the tee, he's 16th. Strokes gained approach to the green, he's 12th. Strokes gained putting, he's 47th. Total driving, he's 12th. Here's the thing. Driving distance, he only hits at 298, which is good for 81st on the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. But total driving, he's ranked 12th on tour.
Now, explain to those who don't understand it, like the differential between the two.
Okay, so driving distance is just how far you hit it, right? And I know that the PGA Tour, from my understanding, they don't measure every single tee shot how far you hit it. I believe they take your longest 4 and average them together. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's how it works. Total driving, that has to do with your length and accuracy off the tee. Yep. And so they use a metric essentially to combine both. So, and for his length, when you look at his length and his accuracy, he's essentially the 12th best driver of the ball on tour. That will help you win a ton of events, especially because that leads to being 13th in greens and regulation on tour. He really doesn't have many holes in his game from what I'm seeing. So hats off to him. I mean, strokes gained total, you're 4th on tour. He's 4th on tour, and he's still very young. I don't even know. How old is he?
22.
22. Okay, there you go. He's barely even old enough to drink. So, yeah, the kid's a baby.
Yeah, no, he's been able to come out of the woodwork so quickly, and not even from like winning on the Korn Ferry Tour. He only has 6 pro wins. I think 1 came on the Korn Ferry Tour. The rest all came when he was like on the Canadians Tour. I think he was on. So Akshay Bhatia managed to get conditional status on tour because of his ability to just notch top 20s and earn money through the KFT. He got in beating Patrick Rogers in a playoff in a second level event. Then I believe he finished top 5 at the Puerto Rico this past year or last year, and it got him even further up in the. Or actually, he was the runner up, and now finally earning full-time status on the PGA Tour, showing how good he can be. Single time that he's made the cut in the tournament, he's finished top 20. Great, albeit he has 4 missed cuts in 10 events, but every time 14, 13, 13, 17, 11, 1 this week. Like, he's putting up really solid numbers, and again, the stats kind of speak for themselves with how good he is. With the win at the Valero, a couple of notes here. He is, in the last 40 years, there have only been 3 wire-to-wire winners to play by players under the age of 23 years old. Jordan Spieth at the Masters in 2015, Rory McIlroy at the 2011 U.S. Open, and now Akshay Bhatia. And on top of that, Akshay Bhatia's win comes, he's the youngest player on the PGA Tour to win an event in the state of Texas since Jordan Spieth did when he was like a junior. Like when you look at like guys who win professional events in Texas on the PGA Tour, it's literally Oscar Matia. I think the only other youngest guy, with the exception of Spieth, is like Joaquin Neiman. I think it was when he he won Riviera at 23.
How was Rory's 2011 U.S. Open win a wire-to-wire win? He lapped the field.
He what now?
He lapped the field at that event.
According to a stat from Justin Ray, he was considered a wire-to-wire winner.
Justin, you are wrong, because Rory obliterated that field.
Yeah, but did he not? Was he not? Was he the first round leader?
Does it matter? That's not wire to wire if you're not a first. Dude, if you shoot 70, that's like saying Tiger shot 70 in the 1997 U.S. Open. In the 1997 Masters, he shot 70 in the first round. But then he ended up winning by 12. That doesn't count as a wire-to-wire win.
It does. So long as you are the leader at the end of every single round, it's wire-to-wire. Which he was.
Tiger wasn't leading after that round.
No, saying Rory McIlroy in the 2011 U.S. Open led after every single round. After the first round, not the lowest score of the round.
That makes it a wire-to-wire win?
Yeah. If you are the leader in the clubhouse at the end of every single day, all 4 days, that's a wire-to-wire win.
Wire-to-wire is like neck and neck coming down the stretch. That's my understanding of the phrase wire-to-wire.
In this context, I know what you mean.
Well, Justin Ray needs to read a book because that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, like that's what it is by definition.
What? No way.
Yes. I will literally look it up. Wire-to-wire PGA Tour. The term is used in golf referencing a player who wins a title while holding the lowest aggregate score at the close of every round of the week.
I didn't mean wire-to-wire for the PGA Tour. I meant wire-to-wire, the definition, like in general.
Oh,
I didn't even know that was a phrase used on the PGA Tour.
I mean, it's different, I guess, for everything.
Let's see.
Honestly, like here, even in college football context, USC was the wire-to-wire AP poll #1 the entirety of 2004.
Well, maybe I should read a book then. I don't know.
I'm a fan of Justin Ray. I know Justin well. He's a good guy. So
whoops.
none of this slander on my dude Justin Ray. Jesus Christ. So, but also to get there for Asha, of course, had to take out Denny McCarthy. 8 birdies in his final 9 holes is something that I was at a wedding expo with Johnny, and I'm like, bro, like Denny McCarthy has like 5 straight birdies. He goes, what? We're watching it like on the TV as my fiance is walking around to all the booths, and I'm like, holy shit, he's gonna like force the playoff. And of course, Asha had to make a birdie on the final hole to force the playoff. And lo and behold, that's what happened. But there's also another name that stood out amongst the guys at the Valero this week. Didn't win by any means, didn't push Asha to the limit, but the week of Jordan Spieth really kind of stands out. Took aim at a clubhouse to get free relief. We had a deep dive into that. He claimed he was hitting the piss out of the ball, and yet like the tweet by Kyle Porter was like, Jordan Spieth could miss the cut by 7 or win by 7. We honestly don't know what's going to happen now at Augusta National going into this week. But yeah, like I don't know if you can give any context into what Jordan Spieth was doing this week, but
unless hitting the piss out of the ball has another definition that I am not aware of, just like wire to wire, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, I mean, maybe he feels like he's hitting it well. He finished tied for 10th at 6 under. And he kind of had a pretty insane week. He really did. I mean, his year has been relatively underwhelming, as you and I have discussed. He's one of the stars who hasn't really held up like his end of the bargain, so to speak.
To give you context on what Jordan Spieth did this week, I think his first round score is kind of the most indicative. He made 4 bogeys on the front with 2 birdies. He and then through the final, so he's 2 over going into the back 9. The back 9 he goes par, bogey, birdie, so he's back to 2 over. Par, double, par, eagle, birdie, par to finish 1 over par for the week, for the day. And then from there, kind of just like went like haywire. He had like 4 bogeys on the front the next day, but 4 birdies in the back. His final 3 holes of the day between 1, 2, and 18, he had a combined score of 5 over par. Like just a very odd week for Jordan Spieth. And I know, like we talked last week how like performance this week doesn't particularly amount to anything come Augusta National, but some of the scores this week you could very well point to and say, hey, like they have momentum riding. Rory finished tied for 3rd. Russell Henley was 4th. Fleetwood and Hideki both finished T7. Spieth and Fitz were both T10. So, like, I don't know if it means anything, obviously. If anything, that also means that none of them are getting to Augusta today. They're all going to get there tomorrow. I know Rory's not going to get there until late tomorrow, which is a very odd situation. Like, why he wouldn't be. Granted, he had gone on a couple of scouting trips earlier in the year, but I don't know.
I don't see how anybody could really have momentum going into this event that played in this past event.
Yeah.
With the exception of Akshay and Denny McCarthy.
I agree with you.
I don't know how you can lose by 9 shots and think that you have momentum. I don't. I don't know how Jordan Spieth, who just lost by 14 shots, can think he has momentum. I don't know. I don't really understand that.
Also, the Valero also did seem like an odd week. Like Akshay was up by as much as 12 strokes at one juncture between him and the field, and it just seemed so out of sorts. You would have thought that there would have been more competitive golf. I don't know, like guys that had less going on in their head and they just shot better, I guess, because they were at that point playing for a paycheck. They weren't actually playing to win.
Yeah. I mean, look, like statistically, it is very hard for numerous players to just run the table. I know we keep using that phrase a lot, and that's what Denny McCarthy did on the back 9.
Yeah.
He just ran the table. And statistically, though, for that to happen to 5 guys in the final round, that's very, very difficult to do. Incredibly difficult. It's more likely that you just see like a bunch of guys shoot 68s and 67s, not have, 5 63s or 62s. That's very uncommon. I mean, at the end of the day, most of them were just like playing for 3rd, except for Denny, who was just like, yeah, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to win this event. And he almost did. I mean, I feel really bad for him with the wedge shot. That was not pretty, but
that was a tricky monkey.
Well, Chuck, hey man, trust me, we've all hit some bad shots before, me included, for sure. So
I'm golfing tomorrow. I'm probably gonna have a few chunky monkeys on the green.
You better record how you play. I want to see video.
I'll have Johnny send some videos. We'll make it happen. We'll see what we can do. A lot more to come on the Masters on the other side, but really quickly to get into some other news external to the week. A lot of comments this past week at both the Valero and at Live Miami happened on my thing. Why my ESPN app just chose to play music is beyond me. Both at the Valero and at Live Miami, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, and John Rahm all sounded off on the eventual PGA and Live unification. For those of you who have been living under a rock, the PGA Tour is down roughly 20% of their viewership year over year up until this point. They've lost almost a third of their viewership per event, dating back to the Cognizant Classic. The only bump that they've gotten, which ironically happened yesterday, was the final hour and a half of the Valero Texas Open, where they actually had, I believe it was 2.1 million viewers compared to, I think, 1.7 from last year. The players got a little bit of a bump here and there, largely on Sunday, but roughly the viewership has gone down. And to give you a different metric to kind of aim this at, the women's March Madness game between UConn and Iowa, Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark, had more views than every NBA Finals game over the last year, the Masters, the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, the Open Championship, every event of the U.S. Open in tennis, and it was rivaling, I believe, the Super Bowl. Like it was close to being like this huge event. So all three of them came out and said that they are hoping for a deeper PGA and LIV unification. Rory and Bryson solely aggregated it to viewership and how they have to do better. John Rahm actually gave the first bit of actual like growth to the conversation and said that we need to go to 72 holes. Now that's coming from, of course, the face now of LIV, which is a pretty telling sign. We know that when he did sign, he did say that there were some throw-ins into his contract that hopefully one of them was 72 holes. He had kind of confirmed nor denied that. But what do you think of the unification talks? And if we can actually, do you think we can ever actually get to a situation where LIV goes 72?
I mean, look, it's possible. Especially, I know Greg Norman had basically said he was done, pounding the table for official world golf ranking points. That was my big gripe with it. It wasn't necessarily the fact that the courses aren't as difficult as the ones on the PGA Tour. I mean, Doral has hosted numerous PGA Tour events, and it was historically it's one of the harder courses that they used to play because they used to have the WGC Cadillac there. I could definitely see them getting to 72 holes. I don't know how much the players would like it because one of like Dustin was like, I'm sure you remember this on Full Swing. He was like, they're paying you more money to work less, which is just
coked out of his mind.
One of the funniest things ever, but it's so accurate. Like, of course, that's really what they're doing. Like, you play less and you make more. I mean, look, at the end of the day, those guys are getting paid so much money. I take back what I said. Those guys are getting paid so much money. I don't really think that they would care if they had to play 54 or 72 holes. I really don't. And at the end of the day, I think unification obviously would be great. Even though I think golf is probably the most interesting it's been in a long time for people like us. Maybe not for the conventional fan, but people who cover the game. Golf has always been a niche sport. They've never really had viewership through the roof unless it's a major or unless Tiger's playing. And even me, I used to only watch golf if Tiger was playing. Like, that was it. And then, slowly I started to get back into just watching it all the time. But number one, how Caitlin Clark and Paige, what's her last name? Bueckers. That is like such an unbelievable story because, in my opinion, it's two of the best women's college basketball players on the planet going head to head in the Final Four. I think that is just a completely those viewership numbers are just a completely different animal. Just because like the story is incredible because it's two girls who are obviously amazing at what they do and also very, very likable. I mean, they're great people, you could tell. They have great personalities and they conduct themselves very professionally. And also it's basketball season, right? It is. It's basketball season. It's March Madness. This is kind of what everybody looks for. This is what everybody, people have a lot of money riding on these brackets too. People are much more apt to bet on March Madness than the Valera Texas Open, I think, because most people just don't have like money to throw around. Right. So, I do think that it would force, if there was unification, I do think it would force the numbers to go up because then it would just create a monopoly, which is essentially what the PGA Tour was. It was just a giant monopoly. So everyone had to watch the same product. And I know the numbers aren't really there for LIV, but they must be taking a little bit of a chunk out of the PGA Tour for sure.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that the consumer's just like, I can't watch golf. I can't watch this whole, I don't know, like this whole product that isn't any good. Like, no, like they're not going to watch it because a lot of the stars ended up going to live, even if some of them are past their prime. That's just a fact. So there's my long-winded answer. But
Yeah, I think that the unification can happen. I think what it ultimately comes down to is you're right. Like live, they're playing 54 holes, but those guys have played 72 holes their entire life. Like why? What's going to stop them from wanting to do that? Probably the hardest thing they're going to have to get over and they've already gotten over it for the most part. Those at least playing in the Masters is having to wear pants during tournament rounds. Like that's the hardest part of the whole thing. And yeah, the courses aren't as hard, but whether or not you're getting OWGR points is a whole different story, and it's not even really contextually relevant at this point. But I think unification is actually important, and I think that we do need to start looking into concessions here because while yes, you're right, it's great for us. There's the coverage for us, and we have more to talk about. The truth of the matter is that participation is up and ratings are down. Like people are getting more into golf, but at the hands of just like the growing sports climate rather than actually getting into watching golf. And I think getting eyes on the sport is almost as important now as it ever was, because it used to be the other way around. It used to be more people, no one really watched golf and no one really played golf, and now it's all of a sudden it's this gigantic influx. How could you now turn those participants into viewers and giving them one product they can watch week in and week out that has the best players across both of the leagues altogether is a lot better than having the people who are going to complain that Matthew Pavon is winning the Farmers Insurance Open or Jake Knapp's winning a PGA Tour event. Like, you don't know who they are, and you're going to complain about it because it isn't Scotty Scheffler and it isn't Brooks Koepka, and you're not seeing DJ and Bryson and Sergio. The ratings this week are going to be through the roof. It always is, every single year. And the reason why is because you're getting the top 88 players in the world playing this week. That's kind of the most important part of the whole thing. I think it's important, but we have to see what provisions each side can make. And as we get deeper on these negotiations, I think that's kind of going to be where we find ourselves figuring out, can this actually work? Quickly, though, before we jump and take our first break, I want to give two shout-outs. Two of the top ladies right now in the world of golf. Nelly Korda took her fourth straight victory, won the T-Mobile match play. How many times are you ever going to see this? She knocked out Leona Maguire, who, for those of you who watch the Solheim Cup year in and year out, has been basically Team Europe's Batman when it comes to winning in match play. She's the most decorated singles player on the planet. It's basically her and Sergio Garcia, who have been giving the Americans fits for decades. She managed to take her out in the final round. She took out players like Lydia Ko and Charlie Hull to claim her fourth victory in a row. And to Lottie Wood, who I've spent the weekend watching the Augusta National Women's Amateur and like watching some of the top female amateurs in the world. It really is kind of crazy to see how good they are at golf. And Lottie Wood came back. She went birdie on 17, 18. And I believe and she birdied 15 too. To win the event over what's her name? Brooke Shoemaker, I think it was. She's a sophomore at UVA. Lottie's a sophomore at FSU. Was an All-American in her first year. Gianna Clement is like she's a 16-year-old sensation. She came in like fourth place. Like an incredible showing from a lot of these women who like we're seeing now the rise in women's college golf is getting so much bigger, and you have the people like the Kordas and Leslie Thompson and Rose Zhang, all of which came from the college golf world, Michelle Wee as well. And they're continuously making the game better and better and better, and they're getting stronger and stronger. And so a couple shout outs to them for some great performances. But with that being said, we're going to go and take a short break. We're 45 minutes in. We're probably going to have another 45 to go with how much Masters coverage we got. On the other side, everything you need to know about Augusta National this week in the 88th running of the Masters tournament. We'll be right back here. Stephen Ben from the Underground. Don't go anywhere.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides unique designs and high-quality clothing from T-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
Welcome back to Get in the Hole. Here, Stephen Ben, joining you with the 88th rendition of the Masters. We give a lot of credit to a lot of the people on the PGA Tour, but I think we also have to give a lot of credit to those who love to create drama for us. We give a lot of credit to what happens on course. What happens on course is probably even funnier and crazier, and it only gets weirder when it gets to Augusta National. And I want to give in a little segment, this or that, Masters headline editions. This past week, we've been talking in the group chat nonstop about what's been happening in golf, and to say that, like, there's just some dumb shit that's happened. There's been gear changes. There have been splittings between friends and competitors, and someone is abstaining from sex in order to prepare for the Masters. Like, why we're hearing all this stuff and why it's a thing, it just beats me. I'm going to give you two headlines. I want you to tell me which one that you're more interested in and why, as we lead into Augusta, and we lead off with one of the more interesting splits and changes that we've seen the week prior to an event. Rory McIlroy has gone to see Butch Harmon, which, why you're going to see him the week before an event, trying to change something, trying to get a second opinion on something from your current coach. And then on the other side, Justin Thomas just said, okay, it's time for me to split up with my longtime caddy, Bones McKay, and he will be picking up Patrick Cantlay's caddy, who Cantlay had on the bag when he won the 2021 Tour Championship. Of course, Bones, one of the most highly decorated caddies in the game, knows a lot about Augusta National, has been here for the last 10 years. So what's the bigger headline and why?
I think it's JT's split from Bones. Rory has openly admitted that he's gone to see Butch before whenever he wants to get a second opinion on something. That's nothing out of the ordinary there. As far as, like, he's not, I hope he's not changing anything. But especially this close to the event, I highly doubt that he is. I just think he went to Butch for just some advice, and Butch has a reputation for being able to kind of get inside the mind of the professional golfer and really get the most out of them mentally. We've seen him do it time and time again with different players. He was able to do that for Adam Scott, Phil Mickelson, Ricky Fowler, Tiger Woods, even though Tiger was, just another league above everyone else. He's done it for a lot of guys. And so I think JT, though, splitting up from Bones, that's the bigger one, because something, in my opinion, something must have happened, or something must have been happening either on the golf course in conversations that we just haven't been able to hear, or off the golf course in conversations that we're not available to hear. I've seen players, split from caddies. I've mostly had good caddies in my career, but I can confidently say I have a top 5 for like worst caddies that I've ever had. And a lot of them are ones who are way too opinionated. And I'm not trying to say that Bones is too opinionated. Maybe he was just telling Justin things that he didn't agree with. You never really know. I remember, I'm not going to say who told me this, and I'm not going to say which player this was about. But there was a specific player in the PGA Tour who has been a mainstay in the PGA Tour for a long time, has won a lot of tournaments, made a lot of money, and he had this specific caddy for a long time. And this had been a partnership for, my goodness, probably 15, 20 years. And I remember having a discussion with someone who's close to this player And this person told me, I don't like his caddy. And the reason why was because the caddy was negative. He was falling behind on the court he was falling behind during the course of the round. And then he was criticizing the player's swing, the player's ball flight, and that's like a huge no-no. Like that's just you just don't do that as a caddy. And eventually he got fired. He did.
Yeah.
He got fired after the year, I believe. There had to have been some type of disagreements, whether it was swing related or ball flight related. There had to have been something that was just driving Justin nuts, because you don't just make a change just to make a change before one of the biggest tournaments of the year. You just don't. That's just not something that you would do. So, I mean, hey, he has another good caddy on the bag, so that's awesome. Hopefully, who knows, maybe it can kind of spark something for Justin, because he's kind of been plateauing as the year has progressed. But
Mhm.
I'd say that's the bigger story for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, granted, he does have a very talented caddy back on the bag in Matt Minister, who, of course, won the tour title with Cantlay back in 2021. But I think also something that's kind of underrated here amongst us, too, is that with the caddy change, JT's also apparently sporting new irons, too, over the past 2 weeks that he's been working with. He swapped out his traditional 621 blades that are up to like his personal specs, and he subbed them out for T100s that are a little bit more cavity backed for those of you who are gearheads. And with that, he's losing about 7 or 8 yards on basically any sort of shot. But what he's found out is, and this is actually in part to his caddy change, is that Justin Thomas was caught to a degree saying how a lot of his mishits have been because of just overall like getting in his own head. And Matt Minister is really good when he was with Patrick Cantlay at keeping him level, keeping him calm throughout the event. There must have been something that's gone on between him and Bones, some sort of a rift. But I think Minister's going to be really good for JT. He's very much to himself. He keeps away. He knows what he's doing. He's checking on his numbers and kind of just does his thing. He kind of lets JT play his game, which I think is also something else that after a while, your caddy and your player know each other so well, and they can like understand everything, that maybe with a new caddy on the bag, it allows you to kind of just be you, because he doesn't know your game as well. So naturally, you can just play your game and do what you have to do, and not have someone else in your ear constantly saying, "Hey, like maybe club up here, maybe club down here," like just giving you suggestions. But at the end of the day, you know your bag the best. I think you can probably attest to that as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. I mean, look, like I'm all for like a discussion about a golf shot and stuff, but once the rift becomes once the conversation becomes more than that, then there's a rift. It can be very, very difficult to do that, you know.
Exactly.
And the way I look at it, whether it's in golf, whether it's a swing coach, a caddy, a mental coach, blah blah blah, it's their job to make suggestions, and as a player, it's your job to make decisions, and it's their job to respect the decision that you make. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Now, onto our next topic here. You know, I didn't realize this, but Ricky Fowler hasn't played at the Masters since 2020.
That's wild to think about.
So in 2020 he finished T29. The 3 years prior to that, he finished T11, 2nd, and 9th at the Masters. What's better going into this week? Ricky's first since in 4 years, or the debut of both Ludwig Oberg and Akshay Bhatia, two of the new faces of golf?
I would go with the debut of Ludwig and Akshay. The reason being is that's the future of golf. You know, those are the two of the guys who are up and comers, who are definitely getting ready to take the torch from some of those older stars, for sure. I think the fact that I almost said Rory, the fact that Ricky is back in the field, I think that's a good story. But we're talking about the future of the game, and I think a big topic of discussion is, what is the future of the game? What's going to happen? And I think this perfectly coincides with two young stars who are getting ready to take the torch.
I really want to say that Ricky's is more interesting, but like the fact that he just went 4 over and missed the cut by 3 at the Valero, and that aside from his win at the Rocket Mortgage last year and his runner-up finish at the U.S. Open, hasn't done that much. Like yeah, comeback player of the year last year, but hasn't done enough from the opening stretch of the year for me to say, okay, like he has a shot to win this week. Obviously, like experience is so big when it comes to winning at Augusta, but something about Ricky's game just doesn't really fit the mold. And so I'd rather go with someone who both these guys are currently top 20 in almost every single metric tee to green. So both of them are very live to actually play very well this week. Very well could see them both squeak into the top 20 or even do better in terms of Oberg. People have him listed as a possible winning candidate this week. So to put both of them in there, I think it's certainly a boost. And then also the other debutantes that are showing out their first time here, Denny McCarthy being one of them. Really interested in seeing how the 3 of them all fare. Tommy Fleetwood has just changed to the QI10 TaylorMade driver, or Brooks Koepka. He shot 7 over at Live Doral this week.
Doral.
Read
a book, would ya?
And as of this week, switched to, he's gone from the blade to the mallet. I don't know if Scotty Scheffler's in his ear or not. What's more interesting, the new driver or the new flat stick?
I think it's the new flat stick. Because here's the thing, putting is the most, when you look at every single facet of, and when you look at every single physical aspect of golf, so putting, like short game, wedges, full swing, iron play, driver, whatever. Putting is easily the most mental, right? And when you change a putter right before arguably the biggest event of the year, especially after coming off, like, it's not like, you know, he finished like 10th. It's not like he just finished 10th and it was just like, oh, geez, like my putting's been letting me down. Like, he just shot +7 in 3 rounds, mind you. Okay. At what is perceived to be a lesser competitive field or tour. I think that's a big eyebrow raise right there. As far as the driver goes, guys, honestly, it's not that uncommon for guys to get new drivers. Drivers aren't really that difficult to get used to in a short amount of time. The biggest thing for me when I change drivers is really just the sound. That's really what it comes down to. Because here's the thing, and I'm about to nerd out for you guys a little bit. There are always parameters that you're trying to hit when it comes to a club fitting. And specifically with woods, you're trying to match the loft, so how high the ball goes, with spin. And so there's kind of like an optimal range that you're shooting for. Well, as long as you're hitting that, it doesn't really matter what club you hit, essentially. And it's pretty easy to get over the new sound and the new feel. Those are really like the 2 things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to just switching clubs in general. And I do think someone who drives it like Tommy Fleetwood, who's as talented as one of the most talented ball strikers on the PGA Tour, I don't think that's going to be very difficult. When you go from a blade putter to a mallet putter, a lot of times the blades, and we've had this discussion before, the blades, they're toe balanced. So they swing open and close, right? And so it's made for more of an arc stroke, whereas mallet putter is more face balanced. So the putter isn't designed to open and close. That means it's more of a straight back, straight through stroke. I would say definitely Brooks for sure.
You know, it's weird because I'm almost inclined to go with the driver here because I feel like Brooks Koepka, he's changing something the week before the only event that matters to him. And yeah, cool. He shot back-to-back rounds of 77. But like, do we really think that he tried that much? Like, he doesn't necessarily give a shit about anything that isn't a major.
That's
now,
good.
granted, the swap away from the blade, Scotty Cameron, that has won him 5 majors in the last decade, might be a very interesting shakeup. We've never seen him game a mallet. I don't think at least I've watched him. I've never seen him game a mallet. It's still a Scotty. It's a Scotty Phantom, but I don't know. Something seems a little bit off. Maybe it's one of those things like Scotty realized that the blade wasn't working, switched to the mallet, and all of a sudden it's working better. The Fleetwood thing is actually interesting because the QI10 has been a very unpopular driver amongst the TaylorMade staff so far. And Tommy, for a long time, actually preferred a mini driver over the modern larger heads. So he used to use the TaylorMade burners like from 4 or 5 years ago, and it just redesigned actually a new one like over the last like week and a half or so, which he might probably end up gaming at some point soon. For some reason, he prefers the mini drivers. I don't know what it is about it, but switching to the QI10, it's been unpopular to a degree, but Rory's on it, Scotty's on it, and their numbers are actually getting higher, but they're getting more erratic. So my question is why is Tommy Fleetwood changing to this kind of a club when he's typically a more accurate driver of the golf club? Is he looking to get an extra 10 yards of distance if he can on his carry? Because apparently the QI10 has better carry numbers than any TaylorMade iteration over the last 5 years, better than the Sim. I think he was using the Stealth and the Sim alternatively week by week. So this change might be giving him a little more length, might be good for a not a forgiving golf course like the Masters, but again, those wider open fairways might give him an opportunity to cut some corners a little better. There have been some course changes over the past few years that have caused for needing a little more length. That's the second hole now this year being the main concern. So I think that the driver is probably the more interesting one of the two because again, distance versus accuracy, the question mark there for a guy who has never won yet on the PGA Tour, someone who I've been banging the table to try and see, hey, when's he gonna win on the PGA Tour? Could he win a major? Like I've been waiting for this moment. But with Brooks, I don't know. There's something about majors versus regular events that I don't really care about the +7.
This is my favorite one. I've been waiting for this. I wish we started with this one, but
no, we had to build up to this.
Do your thing.
I want to start with the second one first because that one's just stupid. So Nick Faldo was on, I believe, Flushing It, and he was like, "Oh, like I don't know about Jon Rahm's prep. He's been playing resort-style courses in shorts. Is he going to be able to play major championship golf?" First of all, Nick, like I get it, but comparatively to Tiger Woods giving up sex to pent up his energy to try and win the Masters. First of all, really quick, I actually asked Kay about this because as a nurse, she's gone through like physiology and has learned some shit. So like apparently it's like a well-known thing that like guys will abstain from sex and like avoid any sort of excretion of their male fluids to like pent up their testosterone buildup and like get them more amped up for certain things. And it helps you with like focus, with longevity, with certain things. They say that people nowadays are I can't believe they're saying the same that this on a golf pod, jerking it too much to the point that like it's ruining their like overall like physical health. So apparently Tiger Woods has given up sex and has avoided sex in order to grow his golf game. I don't know what the fuck Ben's going to do here now. But to give my short answer, the funniest thing I've ever read in my entire life was Tiger Woods giving up sex to try and win the Masters. And not for nothing, like Tiger Woods wouldn't be playing if he didn't think he could win. He could win Augusta National. He's going to be interviewed tomorrow at noon, and they're going to ask him, "How confident are you that you can win the Masters?" And he's going to say 110%, because Tiger Woods has never teed it up once in his life and not thought that he could win the event. But clearly he's taking some extremes in order to try and capture his 83rd career win. Ben?
I mean, I just think, honestly, like I feel. What is Nick Faldo's thought? What are his thoughts on LIV?
I have no idea. All I know is that his reasoning for why he's fading Jon Rahm is because he plays on resort courses and wears shorts.
Well, no, the reason I asked that is because it sounds like a very like negative comment towards Liv, really, because it's just like they're wearing short. Because that was part of the public perception was that these guys are playing 54 holes on easy golf courses wearing shorts, where there's actually something to be said. Players who have the ability to go low, regardless of the level of difficulty on the course, actually have a better chance of shooting a low number on a harder course. Like that's why it's like the age-old game where it's like the age-old game, like, you know, you want to go shoot in the 60s, well, you got to do it from the red tees. Then you go back and you do it from the yellow tees, then the white tees, then the blue tees, whatever. I didn't really read too much into it. Jon Rahm is still in my mind a top 5 player in the world. I know we don't really know his results off the top of our head, but I mean, the guy is the defending. Yes, he is the defending champion. So that's that. I wouldn't really read too much into that. Tiger's prep, though, I just think is just all out hysterical. Not because I understand the science behind it, and I completely agree with what Kay is saying. I believe it was actually way back, like 300, 400 AD or something.
Greco-Roman era.
Actually, I think so, yeah. I'm really... Because I made a fool out of myself with the whole wire-to-wire thing, which I will completely just embrace at this point. I'm really worried. I'm scared to make any grammatical or historical just stupid comments. But this is actually, I heard this from somebody on a podcast. The Spartans, before they would go into battle, I don't remember the amount of time, but they were not allowed to, I believe they were not allowed to see their wives before they would go into battle. It was like a real thing. And so and then what Kay is saying, I actually agree with what she's saying. And there are certain benefits to, you know, jerking it. Because it allows your body to release the popular belief among scientists is that it allows for your body to release any potentially cancerous viruses or bacteria from your prostate, I believe it is. So that's why, like, it's there. A lot of scientists believe that physically, it's not harmful. Where I think mentally, I could definitely see people definitely being tired and lazy and all those other things and just like unmotivated. That being said, though, the fact that Tiger Woods, who cheated on his wife with like 14 different women, and I guarantee it was probably more than that because, I mean, my goodness, let's just be honest. Like, if you're cheating on your wife with 14 different women that were publicly exposed, I can only imagine what wasn't exposed and who he paid off. So the fact that it's him doing this, I just think it's like hysterical because it's just a total 180 from what he was up to in 2006, 7, 8, and 9. So, yeah.
The incorporation of sports, pop culture, and us talking about jerking off has really been a turning point in my reporting career, because this is really fucking weird to talk about. Yeah. So the Nick Faldo thing, quickly to go back on this. So he said on a Sky Sports Golf podcast, said, I know that he made comments about watching Riviera and thought he wished he was there. I thought the players was good. That was exciting, and I bet he wishes he was there as well. He's been playing resort courses in shorts for the last couple of months and hasn't really been tested yet. He's a hell of a player, but he's going to have to make a little bit more effort to step it up and get the right intensity. Whether coming to defend, you can do it, or whether he's not quite sharp enough because he hasn't tested himself quite as much, We'll have to wait and see. Read a book, Nick Faldo. Read a book. And also, by the way,
That's the quote of the show. Read a book.
I have another quote for you, and this is a joke play on the Tiger thing. Tiger saving his strokes for the golf course. So this or that. Scotty Scheffler wins his second green jacket, or I'm going to rattle off a bunch of other feats, and I want you to determine if one is more important than the other one. We're going to start off with John Rahm repeats at Augusta. What would you like to see more? Scheffler winning a second or Rahm repeating?
Just strictly based on Nick Faldo's comments, because he's made a couple comments before that have pissed me off. I'm going to go with Rahm for sure.
Would you rather see Rahm repeat or Koepka win his sixth major?
Koepka win his sixth major because he doesn't have a Masters. That would get him one. He would just need the Open Championship then.
Koepka wins his sixth or Rory completes the Slam?
What's more important?
What would you want to say?
Oh, man. Oh, I don't know why I'm thinking so hard about this. Koepka to win his sixth. I feel like if Rory wins the career Grand Slam, it's just going to be like the never-ending love parade for Rory McIlroy and all of his supporters on Golf Channel, honestly.
I'm surprised Rory McIlroy hasn't created a TikTok yet, because if he won the Masters, he'd be like, I won the Grand Slam. Like it'd be like it'd be so fruity, and he'd be showing it off. It'd be so bad. Koepka winning his sixth or Tiger claiming his 83rd win and his probably final Masters victory?
Oh, it would be Tiger. Are you kidding me? It would be a fucking miracle.
It would be a miracle, and then he'd be able to have all the sex he wants. It's time for
I feel like he's not lacking in that department at all.
No,
based on his track record.
No, he sure as shit is not. It's time to get some beer money. Brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer. Who's Kenny, you might ask? Well, he's smooth, he's bright, and he has great taste to boot. He's the routine choice of folks who want a balanced, flavorful, and no-frills beer that is just right for any occasion. Only 120 calories, 8 grams of carbs. Some call it the best light beer they've ever had. We just say you can't beat the original, and it's a hell of a lot better than Michelob Ultra. Head to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Tracker to find where you can get your hands on some ice-cold, refreshing Kenwood beer from your favorite liquor stores in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland areas, as well as the Wells Fargo Center to not watch the Flyers in the playoffs and beyond. You must be 21 years or older to do so, and of course, drink responsibly. And for this segment as well, must be 21 years or older to bet responsibly. We're going to start off with some non-countable props for the week, some non-countable bets. I want to do some props. I want to go through this. I love doing these for majors. A few fun ideas that I had, like top American, top European, top Canadian, because there's like four in the field. Top live player. Is there any of those props that you're interested in that you think someone has some value to give?
I mean, I think that there's a little bit of value. I think there's a possibility that we could see someone like Dustin Johnson or Matt Fitzpatrick or Patrick Cantlay, someone who's not exactly listed as a favorite to be the top American, because all three of those guys, albeit they have pretty different games. I think Patrick Cantlay and Matt Fitzpatrick, I think their games might be a little bit similar. But I mean, Dustin is he's a bomber. And he has a beautiful wedge game. And when he's on with the putter, it's really hard to beat. I think those guys definitely have some value to be top American for sure. Obviously, with Scheffler being plus 475 to win, I wanted to pick someone who was. What's that?
No. Talk. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's also we'll get to the top European that I think is kind of insane, but
just so you know,
Matt
Patrick is European.
Oh my God, I'm searching. What is wrong with me tonight?
Read a book, Ben.
Oh my god.
So Matt Fitzpatrick is
You
your
can
top
just-
European. Dustin Johnson, your top American.
Oh, I had to pick one. Oh, I'd go with
No,
Dustin
no, no,
Johnson
no.
all day then.
No. I'm just saying, like, thoughts on who could be. Instead
Yeah,
of just
who
like
could
making
be
your
top.
typical picks.
Yeah. I would just say I'll give you 2 picks for top American. I'll give you Dustin Johnson potentially, Patrick Cantley, and you know what? I'll throw in Tony Finau perhaps because he's had a little bit of success there. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like when you look at like prop markets like this, obviously the top American would be like if an American wins the Masters, it has to be this guy. But there's a lot of value on a lot of different names, and like you can go up and down the odds board and pick like guys to win, but also let's just say like there's a good chance that you could see a top 3 finish where the top 3 players are John Rahm, Joaquin Niemann, and Rory McIlroy, in which case your top American is going to finish 4th or 5th or whatever it may be. So if you're going that route, I mean, you can obviously pick someone to win outright. You can also pick someone. There's like some odds boards that will have like winner minus like Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory, and then you pick basically whoever would finish the next best. There's a lot of value. I love Dustin Johnson this week. I like a lot of live guys, and I said this to you as a hot take. The odds of there being more live players in the top 10 than PGA Tour players, I think, is actually a possibility this year. Last year, we saw an instance where Phil, Patrick Reed, Dustin Johnson, all of which were in the top 10 and finished really well at the 2013 Masters. I think, and of course Koepka as well. Regardless of performance this past week, because I think last year the only players who played significantly well is Brooks, who had won at Miami, and I believe like Phil played well too. I still think Phil like experience matters here, and let's just say like Phil Mickelson finished T2 last year, could very well have a situation where Phil's back in the top 5, back in the top 10. Patrick Reed is 1 year before. He has plenty of experience. He has multiple top 5 finishes here. Could very well do that as well. So like live players, I think, have a lot of value. If you look at like top European, I mean, John Rahm is obviously probably the favorite on that end, but Rory McIlroy is a backdoor top 5 machine. Could very well happen. Best South American, I think it's Joaquin Niemann by a long shot. He's the best by far, and probably the second best player in the world right now. Not named Scotty Scheffler. There's a fun one though. It's a top Canadian. There's only 4 in the field. It's Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin, Corey Connors, and of course Pat Shammy and Mike Weir. I actually don't like Corey Connors this week. I'm actually really bullish on Nick Taylor. He won at the Waste Management. I think Hadwin's a really talented player too, but Nick Taylor's 3rd on the odds board here in this category. And this is really just like a who can play their best round of golf. I think Nick Taylor is actually a really good play, like plus 400. So with that being said, I want to get into the actual beer money picks account. Ben, I'm adding 2 picks for you. Whether or not they're good or bad for you is to be seen because you're down by 5 right now.
Oh, so you both get 2 extra picks.
Yeah. These are going to count this week. Your picks
All right,
to
cool.
make
Look,
and miss the
I'm
cut.
trying to make... What's that?
Your pick to make
Say that
and
again.
miss the cut. You're down by 5, so
I'm down by 5. Look, I'm on the struggle bus for real today, so we're just gonna keep it short and sweet. To miss the cut, it was someone who I always thought would win the Masters, and I think time has passed him by. I'm gonna go with Justin Rose to miss the cut. And as far as to make the cut, I'm going to go with Zach Johnson to make the cut.
I dig it.
Pretty out
Picks to make and miss the cut. To make, I'm going to take. Hey, you know what? I'm up by 5, so we can have some fun. I'm taking Stu Hastad.
I know you're up by 5.
What?
I love that.
We're taking Stu, the amateur, the 33-year-old financial analyst in Midtown Manhattan, is going to make the cut. I think I think the 1 year that he won low am was the only year he made the cut. Granted, I think he's only played in 2017 and 2023. But I think he's a a fun player to make.
You can't win low am if you don't make the cut though.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Well, what if all the
All
Ams?
right,
What if all the Ams missed the cut though?
then there's no low am.
There you go. He's played in two
I had to be
Masters
right about something.
tournaments. He's played in two Masters tournaments. He won low am in 2017, made the cut. 2023 missed the cut. But I think he'll make. And then to miss this week, go out on a fun little limb. Let's see who I can take to miss. I want to go with like a really high up name on the board. You know what? He finished I think second at Live Miami. I want to see what his recent results have been at the Masters. Because I've seen people have him on cards this week, and I don't know what his recent success has been like. All right, sweet. He's missed 4 of the last 5 Masters. Sergio Garcia to miss the cut. He's actually really high up on the odds board, despite the fact that he's missed 4 of the last 5. Oddly enough, when he won in 2017, he missed the next 3 cuts. So I'm going to take Sergio after riding a really strong Live Miami event. Is going to miss the cut this week. Your top 20 at Augusta National.
Oh man, top 20. This is where I always have a lot of problems right now.
You always manage to get top 10s right.
Honestly, that's a miracle in and of itself. I'm gonna go Siwoo Kim for top 20.
Ooh, okay. I told you this before this was like 3 or 4 days ago. I think on Saturday, that I was so confident in 3 of my 5 picks this week. This is one of the 3. Russell Henley for a top 20 this week. You know that he's the only player in the Masters field to have 4 consecutive top 20s in his last 4 events. Amazingly, no one else has done it. Top 10.
Okay, top 10. I'm gonna go with someone who's had a little bit of success here. He played with Tiger in the final round of the 2019 Masters. I'm gonna go with Tony Finau for top 10.
Let me pull up the odds board and let me actually pick someone that has like some sort of actual intrinsic value. Top 10 finish. Wow, they're actually both equal. That's crazy. I'm gonna take Joaquin Niemann at plus 200. I think that's a strong play for what it's worth on that one. And the second best golfer in the world, not named Scottie Scheffler. Top 5.
Top 5. I'm gonna go with. Gosh, like part of me wants to pick Wyndham Clark, but I feel like he just hits the ball the wrong way out there. It's very much a right to lefter kind of golf course. He's a left to right player. I don't want to pick Ludwig because it's first Masters. Joaquin Niemann, top 5 finish.
Okay.
Arguably the best player on Live. So.
Top 5 for me. I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama. I took him last week for top 5. He finished 7th. Hideki has been one of the most consistent golfers in the Masters over the last 5 or 6 years. I think he's made the cut every year. He's finished top 20 almost every single time out. Just consistency wins at this golf course, and Hideki fits the mold to a T. Your gimme pick.
Oh gosh, my gimme pick. I'm gonna go with another one out of left field, Tyrrell Hatton, top 10.
Ooh, yeah. I saw a stat actually about Tyrrell Hatton that was really interesting.
That he drops the most F-bombs on the golf course. Did you see that video?
Oh, he called the ball the C word.
Oh, it was so funny. Oh
hilarious.
My gosh.
That was like actually ridiculous. No, it was like the last like X amount of Masters winners have been like 18th in the world, this stat going in, and it matched Tyrrell Hatton to a T. My gimme pick, it's hitting each of the last 4 years, and you can get it at plus 300. Shane Lowry for a top 25. There has been nobody more consistent in majors at hitting top 25s. I think with the exception of maybe the Open this past year, I think he has been top 25 in his last 8 majors. 4 straight though at Augusta National, which is amazing. Your winning pick this week at Augusta National for the 88th Masters Tournament.
I feel very confident with this player. You might laugh your ass off at this, and that's fine. At plus 1,600, I'm picking Xander Schauffele to win.
Ooh, okay. I've been I've been trying to figure out like who can win this week, and I think that no one can beat Scottie Scheffler. I think the only way Scottie Scheffler loses is if he can beat himself. Rory McIlroy's approach game has not been good. I think this is actually his statistically second worst approach year so far around the green.
By the way, I don't, not to cut you off, I don't understand how he's second on the odds board to win. I get it, it's Rory McIlroy. I think Vegas has like a hard on for him or something. Like it's crazy.
I agree. I don't think it's going to happen. But part of me also just cannot count out Brooks Koepka. Like, there's no one else, with the exception of Joaquin Niemann and Scottie Scheffler, and honestly, I would say Hideki Matsuyama and John Rahm, that, like you said, Wyndham Clark, he hits the ball wrong. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change this. I have a crazy change. There have been 3 lefties to win the Masters. Phil, Bubba, and Mike Weir. We're going to add a 4th to the list. I think Brian Harman is going to go back-to-back majors.
Wow. Yeah. You Brian Harman.
I went from Brooks Koepka to Brian Harman. Wow. All right. No, but like there's actual reasoning behind it, right? Like, when you look at some of these holes, there are more dogleg lefts than rights. They've adjusted the golf course over the last 5 years that they've made the 13th hole longer, and it's basically made it a forced layup hole. But only the lefties, because everyone's playing cuts, so only the lefties can really cut the corner well, to the point that, like, I don't see a lot of righties contending if the lefties can make their putts. And Brian Harman's played really, really solid golf. The explanation I saw this morning from Eamon Lynch, I think, really kind of put that into perspective for me. Was like, Brian Harman has a chance to do damage, so does Bubba Watson. And an article came out in Golf Digest. I was like, Bubba Watson could actually win the Masters. And again, saw Phil last year. Phil capitalized. He had like 5 eagles in the last 2 rounds of the tournament. Pushed him all the way to T2. I think the lefties actually may have a shot to shock some people. And I think Brian Harman's going to be the guy to bring it home. But I do think like Koepka is a great pick, regardless of the putter change. I don't know what that entails, but Ben, national title game happening right now. Do you think Zach Edey could beat UConn?
No. I have to watch UConn play twice a year against Xavier. So, no.
The Huskies are a
Also,
7.5 point favorite.
I cannot see Brian Harman winning this event. He hits a draw as a lefty. And most of the holes, didn't you say they go right to left?
Yeah, but he could play a cut still.
Yeah, but if that's not your preferred shot shape, that's hard to do for 72 holes. Historically, the most players who have won have hit the ball left to right. Most of them. Sorry, right to left, excuse me.
And he would have to hit he would have to hit it right to left.
Yeah, so as a lefty, he'd have to hit a fade.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
You might have just screwed yourself.
So should I go back to Koepka? Is it too late for me to go?
You already locked in No,
All right,
hey
fine,
man, you already
fine,
locked in.
Fine. That's totally fine. I will ride the coattails of Brian Harman. That's fine.
Don't
And
let me
And
persuade
you know what? If
you.
Brian Harman puts on the green jacket, that's going to be a mega win for the boys.
Mega. Are the
Not
Mets
mega.
winning? Yeah,
What's that?
I said mega.
Mega.
I said mega.
All right, guys. That's all the time we have for you. Hour and a half in, we have to get going. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Episode 149 of the Get in the Hole podcast right here. Masters Week, the 88th running. So much excitement, so much to go on. We will have coverage for you the entirety of the week. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Underground Sports PHI Philadelphia, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Get in the Hole Pod. And of course, follow me and Ben for all of our coverage throughout the week. Shout out to our awesome sponsors over at Tomahawk Shades, over at Acorn Hills, PHI Apparel Co., and Kenwood Beer. And be sure to subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Just search us up on Get in the Hole. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. Episode 149 in the books. Enjoy the week of golf. The Masters, enjoy it. Enjoy the moments. Enjoy the times. And get ready when Brian Harman gets to put on that green jacket. And he's like 4 heads shorter than Scotty Scheffler. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time. And remember, get in the hole!